It's time now for Down on the Corner, North Central Arkansas's premier morning radio program. Down on the Corner is your connection to the latest political news, community events, local businesses, and the candidates who seek your support. Now, here's Dale Hoffman, live from the Mountain Talk 97 studios in downtown Mountain Home.
Good morning, North Central Arkansas. It is Thursday, March 5th, 2015, 7:06 in the morning. Yes, I think the storm has passed. The sun is going to be out. Hopefully, pretty soon we'll have some clear skies. At least it's not snowing. Hopefully it'll start warming up by the weekend. Our day's off to a great start, though. I've got Brewed Awakening coffee in my cup. You can visit them on Highway 62 Business East once the storm debris passes, the snow melts and stuff like that. Brewed Awakening coffee on Highway 62 Business East across from Flashback's Retro Shop. You will not be disappointed in any of the beverage you choose from Brewed Awakening. And, of course, the morning prayer brought to you by Gilbert Realty. They're in the Charming Stone building across from River Rock Inn. Their phone number is 870-425-6282. Give them a call if they can assist you with any of your real estate needs. They serve North Central Arkansas and South Central Missouri. Let's pause now for the morning prayer. Heavenly Father, now that the storm has passed, Lord, let us be aware of the needs of our neighbors. I pray for our senior citizens, those that live alone. I pray you comfort them and keep them from harm. Lord, now as the season starts to change to spring, let us as Christian people spring forward with a new desire to serve in your name. This is my prayer today. Amen. Once again, Gilbert Realty brings you the morning prayer. They're in the Stone Building across from River Rock Inn. 425-6282 is their number. Give them a call today if they can assist you with any of your real estate needs. Well, we know it's cold outside. I'm going to go through these temperatures real quick because I've got the MoDOT map and the iDrive Arkansas map up. We're in the high teens to low 20s across the region. The exception, of course, Watford City, North Dakota is -2. And I think that's the coldest in the Midwest. Of course, they're on the Canadian border. Nashville reports 21. The warm spot, Murfreesboro, Tennessee at 24. And they're getting our snow that has moved on east. And, of course, they can have it. Anyway, let's take a look at iDrive Arkansas. You go to iDriveArkansas.com. You hit the weather condition map. It's all purple. Every part of the state with the exception of portions of I-49 and Highway 71 south of Fort Smith, Highway 65 south of Harrison is just partly covered, but overall the entire state of Arkansas is ice and snow and sleet covered. In Missouri, now you can go to MoDOT, MODOT.org. Let's see. We have the highways north of Springfield. What's that, 13 or 7? I forget what goes north towards Kansas City. But anyway, in our part of the woods here, West Plains is reporting covered. So it'd be Highway 160, Highway 63, and 60. We have snow and ice. Once you get on I-44, that is reported as being clear from Springfield to St. Louis. But Highway 60 from Springfield east towards Kabul is partly covered. And basically, if you're going from Mountain Home to Springfield, from Mountain Home to West Plains, Kabul, Rolla, you're going to be dealing with some snow and ice-covered roads in Missouri. That brings us to the Huckabee Report. Stick around. Be right back. Sheriff Montgomery's our guest, and the governor will be calling in at 7:30. Stick around. Be right back. Seven six up. Maybe the sheriff said, "Look,
oh my God, all right. I see sunshine." Sorry,
we're excited down here. Sunlight. The storm has passed.
Yeah.
All right. How you doing, Sheriff?
I'm doing well. I don't know. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older. I am. My mom says, "Don't ever wish your life away," but I am so ready for spring.
Spring, yeah. How'd you like to be in Boston?
No.
Mm-mm.
Not just because of the snow.
Yeah.
I prefer God's
country.
No
pun intended, but I get your drift.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. I think the fact that once we got to March, the mayor come in here and he's just all smiles. You come in all smiles today. So what's going on in this county? Everybody coming in happy after the snowstorm?
But I tell you, I want to say thank you to the people out here because yesterday with all that going on, when it hit, traffic was really heavy in the morning, but then it
subsided.
It subsided, and so And then I talked to the deputies, and after the sun went down, there was very few people out, which, number one, keeps them from possibly having accidents or slide-offs or whatever, but it also gives the road crews a chance to get caught up. And I tell you what, my hat's off to the State Highway Department.
Oh, man.
I posted a picture this morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, it's for it to be 6+ inches snowing well into the night and for it to look like that at 6:30 this morning, I just, again, hats off. And, of course, city crews have done well. I know the county's been out all night working, so, of course, there's a lot more roads out in the county. But they're, again, I really appreciate the folks that's been out here working.
Great job, everybody. Good job. Yeah, as a matter of fact, the picture that you posted this morning at 6:30, I reshared it on Facebook, and by the time I reshared it, Channel 8 in Jonesboro picked up on it. So everybody in the state's seeing that one, but that's a great job. That's a great job, Highway Department and city crews, county crews. Thanks a lot.
You bet.
So how you been?
Good. Everything, we're plugging along, and, other than the same song that we keep singing about the prison and jail overcrowding, which I think Governor Hutchinson was calling this morning.
Yeah, you should be calling in at 7:30.
And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But, things are really good.
Well, and I'm seeing you've been here, the county judge has been here, the mayor's been here, Mr. Tilley, the street director. Do you think that a relief in some of the fuel prices and a little bit of extra money in our pocket finally is a little shot in the arm? Could it be the fact that spring's around the corner? Things are good. The reports are, the revenue-wise, the tax revenues are up. The county, the cities are doing better.
Well,
it's not perfect, but it's better.
No, but again, even I think the whatever you want to call it, recession, et cetera, hit us later than it did the rest of the country, and I think to some extent our recovery's a little bit behind. But I've talked to 2 different realtors who say that they've been busy. So when you've got home sales going up, you've got a lot more remodeling projects. I've always said the building trade affects so many people. I think that's a good barometer. You think about it, whether you're building a new house or a major remodel, you're everybody from lumber companies to the people that sell the carpet and the hardwood and the furniture and the paint and you affect so many people when you do that. And so I think it's a positive sign. I think things are looking up. And so, again, of course, I've been accused of being the eternal optimist anyway, but I'm telling you, this is God's country, and I say it all the time. And I just, I'm excited. And I think the other thing I will say this, I think we've got good leadership when you look at county judge, the mayor, not just the mayor of Mountain Home, but the mayors of these others. I think there's a great working relationship among everybody, and I think that helps as well.
So you can kind of see the mood of the counties, the mood of the state, because where there's hope, where there's a light at the end of the tunnel, don't you think that's a shot in the arm? I think people feel better, not only about going to work, but feel better about themselves.
No question. And, and your comment about the fuel prices, certainly has had an effect. Let's face it. It's nice to fill up or was. I know the cost is going back up when you can fill up your vehicle for $35 or so. When it's been years since that's happened. But I'll tell you, it was a lifesaver for the sheriff's office. I have 2 budgets. I have the sheriff's side, and then I have the jail side. And the Quorum Court has been working with me on the jail budget because that's where we've had so many issues. But even with what they were able to give us budget-wise, and again, I'm going back a year ago, nobody could have anticipated the backlog of state inmates in county jails. And so budget-wise, it was killing us. So last year, we went in the red in the jail budget. And by the way, I want to clarify. People say, well, how do you go in the red? Well, the problem is, the law is very clear. The jail should be funded before anything else. So I can't. It has to be funded. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Even as sad as it is, before a road gets plowed or gets graded, or before you open another county office, the jail has to be funded. Okay, and that's a dirty word. But in this case, a lot of it had to do with fuel prices. with some other areas over in the sheriff's budget, we actually came out in the black to the point that we offset all of the amount we went in the red in the jail, and actually we don't have the exact final figures, but we'll be turning back to the county money we didn't spend, probably $20,000 or so.
Oh, wow.
So I mean, when you look at the big picture, I'm ecstatic.
That's why you walk in with a smile.
I'm ecstatic because I can tell you midway through the year, as bad as the jail budget looked at that point, I mean, you're just sitting there thinking, man. So no, I'm ecstatic, and again, the budget process this last fall for the current budget that we're in, Quorum Court's been very helpful. Again, it goes back to what I call the leadership across the county. I think we've got the right people there that truly care about this county, and from the mayors that. I mean, just last week I was down in Norfolk and gave a talk, and the mayor of Norfolk showed up. We just have a great working relationship with all of these, and I think things are going to be very, very positive this year.
I've got that feeling too. You could see it yesterday when Mayor Dillard was here, and every time County Judge Mickey Pendergrass. This is a good area to live in. We've got some great people, and I don't know. I feel a good, optimistic outlook for 2015.
Amen.
It'll be good. So, what else is going on with you?
Oh, let's see. Sunshine. That's enough to make you smile.
Oh, isn't that nice?
We have 3 cars. The Quorum Court. Our cars have been falling apart, and since I've been in office, we have never been able to purchase a new car. We've always any cars that been given to us, we've had to buy what we call fleet cars, and basically to hand me down from Missouri or Kansas Highway Patrol, 50 to 60,000 miles. And so the Quorum Court authorized us the purchase of new police cars or sheriff's cars or whatever. And we just got notified yesterday that 3 of those are in, and so I don't think I want to pick them up today, but we'll pick those up next week, and then we'll start the process of outfitting them.
What's the cost to outfit a car properly? You've got to have all your radio equipment, lights, and safety equipment. Are police cars engineered and built differently from the average passenger car?
They are. Usually it's a suspension, your alternator system. So yes, they are. Heavier brakes, etc. So. But in this case, and let me back up. Crown Victoria is what we've traditionally used for years, and that's what we've had here. And so when you get of course we've been buying used Crown Vics, but you get them in, you can take the equipment off the old Crown Vic, you put it in the new Crown Vic. So with the exception of some parts, the vast majority of it interchangeable. And so usually about $1,200 to $1,500 per car was all it would take by the time you put the equipment over. Well, there are no more Crown Vics. So now we're going to the Dodge Chargers. And so the equipment doesn't fit.
Oh, great.
So, and they knew that. I mean, we've been talking about this now for a couple of years. And so cages don't fit, different brackets. The
Crown Vic a little bit bigger wheelbase car than the Charger by a few inches.
It's actually, believe it or not, though, there's more leg room in the Crown or in the Dodge Charger.
Really?
Yeah. So, but cages don't fit, so we have to buy those new. The push guard that we put on the front of our cars, and that's because of the amount of deer population. We hit several deer a week, and by putting the push guards and the wraparounds, for the most part, it saves our vehicles. Now, real hard impact, it's not going to. Those don't fit, so those have to be purchased. But here's what we kind of worked out a deal, and we'll see. The Quorum Court has verbally said it'll have to be made official later, but when they gave us the cars, once we get everything outfitted, we have to sell these vehicles at auction. And so they're going to basically let me have whatever comes out of the auction to go back into my equipment line item to offset. And we think it'll be close enough that we can make that work. So,
wow.
But yeah, we're
robbing Paul to pay Peter in some instances.
Well, it is, but again, it's one of those things that's going.
But I think it's good stewardship of the money.
Well,
I think you're doing a good job there. Yeah.
So we're it can't come too soon. I'm telling you, we had I think it was 2 weeks ago. We had 5 cars in the shop at one time. They're 250,000 miles. Now that's actual miles. That's not running time. We've got, just the night. I'm trying to think. The auction, we had a sheriff's auction of cars Friday night. One of the deputies on his way home, transmission goes out, and that car's got 180,000 on it. So it couldn't come at a better time. Yeah. So I'm excited about it. Hopefully we'll get those vehicles and get them outfitted soon.
We're going to go ahead and take the news break now so I can answer the phone. Governor's due to call in here at about 7:30 so the sheriff and the governor can talk about the prison reform and what is it, the overcrowding issue we're talking about today?
I believe that's in his proposal that's sitting in front of the legislature now.
Time for the news. We'll be right back. 7:35. Just got a phone call saying that the county offices should be opening around 10 o'clock. And we also want to welcome to the studio by telephone our governor, Asa Hutchinson. Sir, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you. Great to be with you, Dale.
Thank you, Mr. Governor. Of course, John Montgomery's here on mic number 2. We want to talk about your proposal for the prison overcrowding. It's been a big issue here for a lot of the county jails and the county sheriff's offices. So I'm going to let you gentlemen discuss this, and thank you for calling today, sir.
Sheriff, good to be with you. I'd love to start off by, John, you telling me and the audience a little bit about the challenge that the prison overcrowding has caused you as a sheriff.
Well, I appreciate it, Governor, and appreciate you joining this morning. We've been kind of preaching it up here now for about the last 2 years, but basically what's happened is the prison overcrowding, there's so many backed up into the county jails because when the prisons are full and a new person's sentenced to prison, of course, there's no place to put them, so we have to hold them in the county jails until bed space opens up. And so you go back even 4 or 5 years ago, whenever we were, let's say, $1,000, $1,200, $1,300 inmates backed up in the county jails, that was considered a crisis. And now we're at $2,600, $2,700 backed up in the county jails. And so it puts a tremendous burden, not only financially on the counties, but in our case, the assaults to our jail staff has gone up. The assaults among inmates have gone up because you put that many people in that small space, it creates major, major problems. And so, again, I really appreciate your proposal. I think, although I won't say it's a magic pill, it's a great start, and I certainly appreciate some of the ideas you've thrown forth. And the last thing I want to say, I just was honored and appreciate the opportunity to serve on your transition team about dealing with some of the prison overcrowding and some of the suggestions and some of the things that you've suggested were certainly discussed in that panel that you put together.
Well, Sheriff, you've been a leader on this issue and been a great ally in terms of helping to craft a solution, and your words are very appropriate that this is not a magic potion, but is a step in the right direction. And we've got to do some things differently, and of course the first thing is relieving some of the pressure on the county jails. We've done 2 things. One, we have up the reimbursement rate from $28 to $30 in my budget, and so that should help some just in terms of fairness to the county. But more importantly, we have, there was one plan that we should have a 1,000-bed new prison, and I know from your perspective you just want to simply have more space, but that cost was like $100 million, so I asked for different solutions, and so now we're going to be renting about, I think it's 400 beds in Bowie County, Texas, near Texarkana, that will relieve some pressure, and that will be at a better rate. I think it's about $36 per inmate. We're going to expand some existing facilities, so ultimately, over time, we'll open up about 800 new beds. So that relieves some pressure, but ultimately, we'll fill those beds very quickly unless we start doing some things different in our criminal justice system. And so we, for the first time in history, really have trying to do a more effective parole system where whenever they leave prison and they're on parole, that we will help them to reenter. We'll have reentry beds for the first time that will allow us to make sure they have some job skill, to make sure they have more than a bus ticket leaving prison. And so hopefully that will give us a more accountable parole system and will help change behavior so everybody's just not simply going back to prison after time. And then I'd love to hear again, Sheriff, what's happening in Baxter County, but we want on the front end to try to make sure we're reserving our bed space for those that are hardened criminals, those that are a danger to the public, and so we're having alternative sentencing courts for some nonviolent drug offenders so that they can have accountability on the front end but not simply go to prison. And so, John, if you could tell us a little bit about the reaction to a couple of those different aspects.
Well, one, I totally agree with you. We can't, and this is something I've commented, and I guess it's been taken and resaid several times, but I strongly believe this. We don't need to stop sending folks to prison for breaking the law. We need to stop people from breaking the law. Now, that's, of course, easier said than done, I understand. But that's why I think your plan at least addresses that, and that we need to come up with, and I think to a point this is done, is come up with some programs that's going to be put in place to try to help these people not break the law. Because up here we're a little different, and let's face it, different parts of the states are different. Up here I call it God's country. We love it up here. We don't have the rape, robberies, murders. So if you're asking what hurts our people up here, it's not the robberies. We're not scared to go to Walmart or the grocery store at midnight. But what is hurting us is the repeat offenders who continue to break the law over and over, who do not seem to get the fact, and they continue. I mean, some of the folks that we're arresting just 2 weeks ago, example one, he's been to prison 3 times, and the number of burglaries has, I don't know, it's like 7 or 8 different burglaries. And so those are the type of folks I think we've got to somehow get their attention. But I also think we need to put a lot more effort on the front end for those folks that commit their first felony to help them. And you're right, the job skills. One of the things I heard that was proposed in the committee that you put together that I liked was that when they are put into these reentry beds, they help them make sure they have current driver's license if they can, current Social Security cards, some of those things that you're going to need if they even go apply for a job. And some of that you just kind of take for granted. But if they've been in prison for even a short period of time, a lot of times they're not going to have that document. So even helping them do those things and then teaching them how to do job interviews and those, I do think is a step in the right direction. So I think it's almost a shotgun approach. I think we've got to, again, work for those people that's got addictions, and we got to try it as best we can to help them kick that addiction. We've got to help those folks who commits their first or second felony to help them. But at the same time, I do believe strongly we've got to hold them accountable if they continue to repeat and break the law.
That's the key part of it, is accountability. I was on a radio show once, and someone said, well, you don't need to send them to prison just for having a few pounds of marijuana or something, which is a lot of marijuana, as you know. And I said, well, even if you didn't send them to prison, if they fail a drug test and they continue to use it, there has to be a consequence to that, which is ultimately incarceration. So it's holding them accountable is what changes behavior. And so there's really 3 parts to it, as we talked about: more bed space, a better reentry program, and then alternative sentencing for nonviolent offenders on the front end. And one thing I want to add that I think is important is I've learned over time that the state government just can't do everything, and we need to enlist the help of our faith-based and nonprofit communities. And they've really done a great job, whether it's in expanding foster care services, which is a different arena, but it's helping our children through our nonprofits, our faith-based community, but also in the reentry programs where they're starting to recognize through prison ministries, through people coming out of prison and trying to reenter society, that they need help. The state can't always afford it, and so our churches have stepped up, our faith-based organizations and nonprofits in general have stepped up. Like Goodwill Industries is not necessarily, maybe not in Baxter County, but they have a good reentry program, and those that they place in jobs do not return to prison quite as quickly. So I think it's a combination of being tough, more bed space, accountability, plus those who really want to come back and get a job to make sure that path is open to them.
I totally agree with you, Governor. And again, I just want to say thank you, because I'm not saying we've not worked on this problem in the past, but I think this, in my opinion, is one of the most comprehensive overall, again, first step that I've seen in a long time. And again, hopefully we'll get this through the legislature. I think it's already passed the Senate, didn't it?
It has. It's moving through. I expect it to pass, and the legislation that will pave the way for this does a number of things, including giving a few more requirements and tools to the parole board so that they don't have to release on parole certain ones that might be a risk to the community. So it gives them more tools. But besides the legislation is the money side, and I tell you that was the challenge. We're going to be devoting, I think it's $32 million to the initial phase of this. So that's just a reminder to the taxpayers that this does cost money, and that's another incentive to change behavior. Sheriff, I want to mention one thing that you all said county government's going to open up at 10, which makes me feel very bad because state government's not going to open up at 10. Did you all get less snow up there?
Well, we got, I think, 6.5 to 7 inches across there. Of course, now the county courthouse is closed. The city hall is closed in Mountain Home. But
I may stand corrected on that, Governor, because I've heard two different stories this morning. So if you go by the county offices, they may not be open until they're going to try. I think is what the report came out.
I will say that the sheriff's office is open. We
24/7.
we don't ever get to close, Governor.
I think I should add that too, that the governor will be working today.
Governor Hutchinson, I've got a quick question here before we have to end the conversation. Has anybody seen any reports on these repeat offenders? I know I've asked Sheriff Montgomery about this, but what's the psychological aspect behind the repeat offender? Have we seen any reports on why somebody, if they know they're going to get caught, I guarantee you John Montgomery is going to catch you if you're doing drugs or doing something wrong. He's going to catch you. Why? I don't understand the psychological ramifications of the criminal mind, I guess.
For people who lead a normal life, it is hard to comprehend. I think sometimes it is addiction problems that, you have an addiction to a drug, you'll do anything to get money, whether it's repeat burglaries or thefts to accomplish that. And I think that's a driving force in many of them. But in other instances, it's just a criminal mind, and I don't have the answer to that.
I was hoping you did, because then you and I could go on the road and solve world peace, maybe.
Sadly, about every other night I have to bring home files of applications for pardons, clemency applications to review. So I spend a lot of time reviewing the full jacket of inmates. And so I'm learning a little bit about criminal behavior, I think, but what indicated that it's the age of the person is probably the best indicator. For somebody coming out, if they're in the prime at 30s and 40s, their chance of repeat offending is much higher than somebody coming out at 65. Now, take that for what it's worth, but
that's a good report, though.
Sometimes they wear out, I guess.
Governor's starting to run out of time. Your final thoughts, sir?
Just appreciate the sheriff and this opportunity to make the case. The legislators, I will add, from Baxter County have been very helpful in this whole initiative, and we're going to get this through, and hopefully our session will complete close to on time. And we got a few other things that are going. I fulfilled my commitment on a Common Core task force that we've announced, and we're going to be putting 16 panel members on that to review our Common Core standards and determine the right direction for the future and make recommendations. So great to be with you today.
Thank you, Mr. Governor.
Thank you, Governor.
You have a good day. It's time for the Sean Hannity Daily Update. We'll be right back. 7:53. Join now with Sheriff John Montgomery. You guys did very well. That's a good conversation between you and the governor, and sounds like it's going to be working out well for y'all.
Well, again, and I think both of us hit on it, this is not the solution, because the truth is I don't know that there is a solution, but I do think it is the right first step. And I think And again, this was back during that committee, that transition team he put together, and all that was heavily discussed in that, and even the conversations that I've had with the governor since then. I do think that he is on board that there does have to be accountability, which is why in his proposal it is proposed to hire, I don't remember the number, but a significant amount more parole and probation officers. And I have been a bad critic of Act 570, which was the Prison Reform Act in 2011. But in my opinion, as much as I think that was a bad piece of legislation overall, it had some good parts, but I'm talking about overall. Part of that plan back in 11 was they were to hire more probation and parole officers because that plan put more people on parole and probation. Mm-hmm. Well, when they didn't hire more parole and probation officers, you've now got them out here trying to supervise 125 or 130 folks. You can't do that. No. So as a result, as hard as good a job, and we've got the people up here I think are great. They work with us very well, and they care about their job. But when you supervise that many people, you can't do it effectively. So the governor's proposal to add a significant enough more parole and probation officers to help hold the people accountable, which I still say is part of the plan. I appreciate that attitude that the governor has, and I think he's committed to working with us, try to help.
I do too. Yeah.
So the sheriffs, the vast majority of sheriffs I've talked to are pleased with this proposal. It has gone through the Senate. I was pretty sure it had. And hopefully next week it'll get through the House, and that's sort of the funding, the logistics of making his proposal work.
We're down to the last 45 seconds. Your final thoughts?
Again, appreciate folks out here. We have a great community, God's country. Would ask the highway department, streets, county crews are doing a great job. If you don't have to get out, stay home at least for a while, even though you can get out, especially on the highways. But the road crews are continuing to work, and if you'll stay off, it'll help them get those clear much quicker. So,
and bear with all the offices. Some may try to open, some may stay closed. So the best thing, like John just said, take the day off. Don't get out there.
My crew doesn't get to take the day off now.
Yeah, you're 24/7.
But even our admin office.
You need a sticker for your car. We're always open.
Our admin office is will be they're open at normal time. So we're there, and you can say, well, why do you have to open? Well, we even yesterday, even after all the snow, we had a lot of people in. So again, thank you folks for being so supportive of law enforcement here.
Thank you, Sheriff John Montgomery and Governor Hutchinson for being here today. That wraps it up. Everybody be safe, be warm. See you tomorrow.